Today, we're going to continue with part two of our When Divorce Enters the Picture, Business Owners Face a Terrifying Question: Will I Lose What I Have Built? Series. Today, we will talk about what makes business owners particularly financially vulnerable in divorce and the blind spots that they should know about. Let's get into it. Marriage is about love. Divorce is about money. Without the right guidance, critical mistakes can have lasting financial consequences. That is where I come in. My name is Gabriela Martinelli, founder at Ever After Wealth. As a certified divorce financial analyst, I provide my clients financial clarity, strategic divorce planning, and long-term stability. On this podcast, I am sharing what you need to know about getting through a divorce, protecting your legacy, growing your wealth and assets post-divorce, and figuring it out what you really want in this next stage of life. Let's get started. Today, we're going to start with the biggest mistakes that I see when I work with business owners. I talk about some of the items that they should consider when they're thinking about this process or they start this process, the last episode. So if you haven't heard that, please go back there. There's a lot of little nuggets and things that you should consider. Now, today I'm going to talk about some of the common mistakes that business owners do early in the process, right? We talk about things that you should consider when the process starts or before. Now, there's some mistakes that I see with my clients when the process starts. One of the biggest mistakes is to believe the attorney will handle the numbers. This is true for anyone that I help through this process and anyone that is going through a complex financial divorce. Believing that your attorney is the only expert you need when going through this process is a big mistake. Attorneys are legal experts. They understand the law. They do not understand the finances. Now, when it comes to business owners, that is even a little bit more complicated because they don't have to just understand numbers. They have to understand businesses and financial decisions you're going to make as a business owner, and attorneys are just simply not qualified for that. When that happens is they bring their experts too late in time after some really bad decisions were made. For example, they don't hire a valuator. Money is taken away from accounts or moving around, or some decisions are made that were not the decisions that were commonly made within the business before this process started. Or there's a lot of delayed disclosures, which creates a lot of distrust on the other side, right? Like the more that you delay sharing documents, the more that you delay getting those documents together or cleaning up those documents, like we talked in our first episode, well, that generates more distrust. That delays the process and is honestly one of the biggest mistakes that I see for business owners. Because remember, this is not just going to affect your life and affecting your marriage. It affects your business, which is your livelihood and your income. So it's very important that you make the best decisions possible when you're going through this process. We talk about messy books in our first episode, and I think that while you're going through the process, if you did not separate your expenses or clean up your books, and you're going now to the process, clean up your books. Don't wait. Like I said, if you don't do it, someone else is coming, is going to do it. It's going to cost you money. It's going to delay the process. And I promise you, they're going to get it wrong because they're not going to understand your family, your finances, or your business, basically, because you are the one that knows your business more than anyone. Another mistake is believing that the court will know what your income is, or they're going to understand, or a judge will understand what your income is versus what the income of the business is. In reality, it's very dangerous. We know business owners, you may reinvest money into your business. You may make purchases. Maybe you pay debt. But the reality is that not all the money available in the business is income to you. However, the court may believe that. So if you don't have this process stream from the very beginning, working with a financial professional that can show a clear path and documents to a judge to help them understand how this works, they will get it wrong. Actually, I have a judge that got it very wrong with one of my clients because the judge believed that all the money in the business was available to him and he had to pay a much higher support payment that he could. Because, first of all, he couldn't have access to the money and he had business partners. So he didn't own the business straight up 100%, but it was not presented to the judge correctly. This was on temporary basis. I was not involved in the case. I got involved in the case a little after, but for all those months that it was on a temporary basis, he had to pay more money that he had and put him in a very, very difficult spot. So one of the biggest emotional traps that I see in my clients when they're going through this process, and actually usually backfires, is when they're trying not to negotiate because they're very attached to their business, which again, I understand. I understand as a business owner or someone that is working with you how much the business means to you and how on certain level you don't believe that the person, your spouse, deserves part of this business. The reality of this is that the court and the judges do not care about that. They don't care about your emotional attachment to your business. They don't care about all of the work that you put into your business. Because in reality, if you are at that point, it has been established that the business is part of the marital estate. So whether your spouse works in the business or not, it is part of the asset that will be divided because you're going through this process. So you trying not to negotiate or trying to prevent them from getting some part of the value of the business during this process because you think that a judge will feel that morally or emotionally this business belongs to you. That's usually not how it happens. And you're going to be paying a lot of fees. You're going to delay this. You're going to be preventing you from moving forward and continue to grow your business because of that emotional attachment and the fact that you want to fight until the last minute to get the business because the business is yours, right? Which, again, on an emotional level, I can understand that. However, that's not how it works, unfortunately, when we're going through a divorce, right? So I feel like the fear and the fear of losing your legacy usually it plays against you and is very dangerous. Sometimes as business owners, we tied our worth to our business. So if our business is either doesn't have the value we think it has or a higher value, or the fact that you feel that it's going to be divided with someone that doesn't feel the same way about your business, it creates a different type of dynamic and resistance, right? And the most important part of this is that, first of all, we need to have clear numbers. We need to make sure that the numbers are clear and we don't include any emotions in this division because that's what generates the problem. Once we know exactly what number we're going to put in this business, it's going to be easier for us to work through a potential settlement or a way that we're going to be divided this business within the marital estate. I bring a strategy to the process, right? Not just on the numbers, because I will be the one helping clean the numbers, making sure nobody is missing any of the information, making sure the data is the correct data, that everybody's operating from the right place, right? With the correct numbers. I'll look over what the other side is doing as well and presenting to make sure that we can find that settlement. But I will also help you understand tuning down that emotions and how that helps you in the long run. Because today you're running with these emotions. You want to hold on to this business, which is yours, which I promise you, probably you're going to keep it. It will continue to be your business. But we need to be strategic and say, delaying this, trying to hold on to this and now coming to the table with the strategy is going to delay the inevitable. It will happen. Like there's going to be a number going onto your spouse's column. And that is what we need to be thinking about. It's like, what do you want to do with your business a year from now, 2, 3, 4 years from now? And how do we better position you in this settlement today? So those goals can actually be achieved in the short, near, and the long-term future, right? Because you want to continue to grow your business. One of the biggest things that I do for my clients too is to find the blind spots, right? And believe me, if you own a business, if you're going through a divorce, there's several blind spots that you should be considering and you should be thinking about, or at least having someone that presents those to you. A lot of them had to do with the way that you value your business and how your income is attached to it, right? Cash flow. Is the cash flow being identified or is being misinterpreted? Is someone looking at the numbers the wrong way or because they don't understand your business? That is important and we had to bring it up. There's also, when you are a small business owner, there's a lot of commingling with your personal and your business assets, right? And sometimes you get loans for your business and you have to co-sign them on a personal level, right? So you are attached to that on a personal level and it's part of your business. Sometimes we're not looking into that. If the business owns real estate, how is that going to be valued? Is it going to be part of the business valuation or the real estate? Because believe it or not, I have seen business valuations that include the real estate that the business owns, where the business operates. And then we're going to the actual spreadsheet of the marital estate, and the real estate is there as well. Well, it can be double, right? If you're counting a real estate property that is owned by a business and you use it in the business valuation, you can count it on your division of assets because you're already counted in your business. And I know this seems very straightforward, right? Like if you're saying to me, well, who does that? Well, it happens. And the problem is that because you're going through all these emotions that we were talking about, you don't see those blind spots. Another one is taxes. There's going to be tax consequences, or there could be tax consequences because you're maybe own the business with your spouse and there's going to be a transfer of ownership. And guess what? When you do a transfer and you make a payment to your spouse as part of the division of assets, there is no tax consequences, right? The tax code accounts for that. There's not going to be taxes. However, if you are dividing a business and there's stocks or shares that are going to exchange hands, you have to be very careful about how that affects taxes, because more likely there will be tax consequences, and who is going to be responsible for those taxes is something that has to be actually decided, right? If you're going through a settlement. Then we had to look into the business valuations. I mean, part of what I do is analyze the business valuations because we need to make sure the valuation truly reflects the value of the business. Taking into consideration expenses, taking into consideration cash flow, taking into consideration products, if you sell a product and not a service, taking into consideration, is it real estate? Is it a vehicle? Is it a debt? Is it a loan? All of those things had to be taken into consideration when you do a business valuation. So analyzing the business valuation is very important because you need to make sure it's accurate. And if they get something wrong, you need to bring it up before the settlement, even before you start a negotiation, because it can be a hit or miss on those things. And a lot of the times it costs you thousands of dollars, if not millions. Honestly, I have seen business valuations that are on one side 5 million and the other side is 1.5. So yes, and it seems that it cannot happen, but it happens. And this is why you need a professional looking at all these blind spots for you. And then one of the biggest one is like, you're running a business, but you're also potentially paying support. How much can you afford? What are your expenses? What is your true income? That is a blind spot. Thinking or believing you're going to be able to pay, because if you have to pay some amount of money from the business to your spouse, right, for their half or whatever percentage they are getting, and you had to pay support, where is that coming from? Is it coming from the business? Is it after or before tax money you're going to be making those payments? And on top of that, you had to pay support. These are all things that had to be considered when you're going through the settlement table. And a lot of the times nobody is thinking about it because, again, we're not thinking into the future, we're thinking in the today. And today we want to hold on to that business, right? Well, we need to be very smart and very strategic about how do you go about holding on to the business or keeping that business, if you will. And another thing that really, really should be something that we considered is, will the court understand how the business runs? Judges see hundreds of cases go through them. I learn about how businesses run all the time with my clients, different type of business, different type of circumstances. The problem is that if we are not able to tell your story, showing it with numbers in a way that a judge can understand how your business works, that is a problem. They probably will get it wrong. So if we can get to a table of negotiating and we can leave the emotions out of there, we can put the numbers back, we can have a strategy together, 100% I recommend you do that, because you don't want to put in the hands of a third party. Another third party is not the business evaluator, is not another professional working with your spouse, is not even your attorney trying to learn how your business works, right? Is this other third party that knows nothing about you, that has to, in maybe an hour or two, understand how your business run, how your income run, what is your actually earning capacity, and what is your capacity to pay support or even pay a distributive award because of this business. Because just because the business value is 5 million, 6, 10 million, doesn't mean you have the ability to pay $5 million, right? Where is the liquidity? Is there any liquidity? Those are things that you have to consider as you're going through this process. And one of the biggest questions you can ask yourself is like, what is that I am now seeing? And that is something I can help you with. What you are now seeing, because you are in the midst of this divorce, trying to run a business, trying to find out what will be the best settlement, that question can be answered only by someone that can come in with fresh eyes and look at everything for you and guide you through the strategy, taking into consideration your personal situation, circumstances, your business circumstances in this divorce, so we can look at all these blind spots. Because I promise you, you will not be able to see them because you are in it, and it's impossible to get out of it when you're going through this process. So these are some of my biggest issues with business owners, things that nobody's thinking about, things that you should be thinking about. Show me the next time I'm going to talk to you about how you and I can work directly. But please start thinking about understanding how important it is to have clean books, to understand your business, to keep things separately, and understand and admit that there will be blind spots, and your attorney is not the one that can help you with them. So if you own a business and you're going through a divorce, or you think you're going to start this process soon, you heard about what is important to do to protect your business and make it divorce proof, and also all the blind spots and the issues that you should be considering when you're going through this process. And the good news is that you don't have to do this alone, because as a CDFA and with 21 plus years of experience working with business owners, that's what I dedicate my firm to work with business owners, to help them understand how the business is going to be affected because of this process. Help you see and find the blind spots that nobody is looking into right now, that your attorney doesn't understand how it works. And I help you plan a strategy that is not going to take you just through this process, but it's going to position in a better place so your business can continue to grow and you don't lose your legacy, you don't lose what you have built. Because unfortunately, I have seen that happening time and time again, where all the results of your hard work may be lost because of this process. The only reason that happened is because there was no strategy. I can be that person that can bring to you the blind spots. I help you plan, I help you understand, and I help you have options. When you have clarity about what you're going through, when you don't let the emotions run this process and you put the clarity on the numbers, you will have options. You will have better ways to settle this that is going to affect your finances in the short term, but it's going to help you protect what you really have to protect, which is your business, which is your legacy, and what you really want to survive from this process that is overwhelming, that is going to change everything. So you can protect your business, because your business does not have to become collateral damage in this divorce. You can protect your business, you can protect your legacy, and you can continue to grow the way you have been growing during this time. So if you're going through this process, if you know a business owner that is going through this process, reach out to me, call me. Let's protect your business during this process, and let's protect your legacy so you don't have to lose what you worked so hard for. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you're going through a separation or divorce, please contact me through my website at everafterwealth.com. I would love to be a resource and partner as you navigate this season and prepare for your financial future. I'll see you in the next episode.